Happy Independence Day in Nigeria. Well, the country faces security challenges, no doubt, on many fronts. Insurgency in the northeast, farmers-headers clashes, kidnapping, banditry, cattle rustling, and many others.
Now, but President Muhammadu Buhari says there is steady improvement in the handling of these issues.
There has been a steady improvement in the security situation in the northeast. We remain committed to ending the crisis and make the northeast safe for all. Our thoughts and prayers are always with the victims of Boko Haram's atrocities and their families. Beyond that, we know that the goals of the Boko Haram terrorists include capturing territories, destroying our democracy, and denying our children the right to education. We will not allow them to succeed. I want at this point to pay tribute to the men and women of our armed forces, the police, and other security and law enforcement agencies who have been working under the most difficult conditions to keep the country safe. In the process, many have made the supreme sacrifice. As their Commander-in-Chief, I assure these our gallant men and women that I will continue to empower them by deepening their professionalism and providing all the necessary force multipliers and enablers required for them to prevail on the field. I am looking into all reported cases of inadequacies in relation to their entitlements, their welfare, and those of their families. The age-long conflict between herders and farmers that was being exploited by those seeking to plant the seed of discord and disunity amongst our people is being addressed decisively. We will sustain and continue to support the commendable efforts by all, including civil society organizations, local and state governments, and our traditional and religious leaders in finding durable solutions to this problem. This being a transhuman issue, we are working with countries in our region that are also facing similar difficulties to complement our common efforts. In this context, I must warn that the perpetrators of murder and general mayhem in the name of defending or protecting herders or farmers will face the full wrath of the law. Meanwhile, we urge all peace-loving Nigerians to reject any simplistic portrayal at home or abroad of this conflict as either religious or ethnic-based.
And still on President Buhari's Independence Day speech, he believes that the country has achieved giant strides in diversifying its economy and reducing the over-reliance on oil.
We are diversifying away from reliance on oil to increase manufacturing capacity, solid minerals development, and agriculture. There is now an enabling environment for local and foreign investment in Nigeria. We are building a rules-based system, a level playing field that is free from fixers and intermediaries. This is the cornerstone to help genuine investors and honest consumers, and the platform that will allow for the real reforms that we intend to deliver over the coming years. We are gradually strengthening the economy with a stable naira and falling inflation rate. We are building an economy that is moving away from over-reliance on oil. Consequently, we have witnessed massive return to farms and seen bumper harvests despite recurrent floods across the country. These positive developments as a result of our collective pursuit of a common vision through hard work and dedication after the missed opportunities and disappointments that followed the return to democracy in 1999.
And now the president also in his Independence Day speech has congratulated Nigerians on the journey so far. He praised them for their resilience in the face of daunting challenges. Buhari encourages all citizens to hope for a better future.
Today is a day of celebration and solemn reflection. It is the anniversary of the day Nigerians realized one of the most cherished of human desires, the desire for freedom. We, therefore, give thanks to and remember our founding fathers who labored so hard and sacrificed so much to build and bequeath to us this wonderful nation. It is our duty to consolidate this great legacy. On this 1st October date, and on the eve of the start of the general election cycle, we should do well to reflect on what binds us together and the great strength our diversity bestows on us. Ours is an ambitious nation, and as citizens, we have every right to look forward to the future with confidence and optimism, which are well-founded considering where we find ourselves today.
A day of celebration, also a day of solemn reflection. That's a statement from the president there. However, we need to put all of that side by side as to a country 58 years standing strong and standing united. From that window, we have to celebrate. And on the other hand, looking at all the challenges we have, which are sometimes even avoidable or self-inflicted, as someone will put it, it will call for solemn reflection. It's just to give you an idea of some of the issues the president talked about this morning in his speech or broadcast to Nigerians.
And even though some people think that it's not all-encompassing enough, I overheard one of our guests in the studio asking, what's up with health and power and all the issues like that. Oladende Ario is a security consultant and still with us in the studio. Thank you for staying the course. We also have Avred Kemapado, Secretary General, Ijo Youth Council. Thank you for joining us. Well, let's get to Abuja, where Professor Ken Efe is also standing by. He is a macroeconomic policy analyst. Now, Nigeria's population as of today, Prof, is the highest concentration of black people on earth, and it should no doubt be a shining light for others. There are even reports that by 2050, we might be counting about 300 million Nigerians. How can we harness this human capital? Because there's a lot of talk about oil and natural resources, but then we're not talking about what we can do with this huge number of people to make our economy better.
Well, I think the projections are 450 to 500 million by 2050. It's 2030 that we are looking at 300 million people.
All right.
I think you're right. We should do more. The service industry has a lot of promise. And in fact, when you look at the service industry, there are some latent comparative advantage. An example, because everybody tends to look at agriculture as a natural comparative advantage, but there is a latent one, which is the Nollywood. Who knew that this will come to nearly 2 trillion naira economy, and then possibly even grow much, much faster without government support? So how then do you expect it to grow when there is some government support in that industry? But anyway, while we are making that journey, I really want to draw your attention to the oil economy of the Middle Belt, of the South-South. Why is it generally accepted that oil is not really, the 10 biggest economy in the world were not built on oil? America, Japan, Germany, and all that. But having said that, we cannot dismiss the impact of oil in our economy. Without this oil we have in Niger Delta, You could never have created 36 local state governments. You could never have created 744 local governments. But the tragedy is that they were all created and they are not being creative in how to go forward. They're simply looking at getting survival money from the same oil that created them. And that's where the trouble is, even if I may say. If you look at Texas, a state in America, the oil state, they have over 200 refineries and petrochemical industries. They are not serving America alone, they are serving the whole world. Now, where you have 75 licenses to private sector to do modular refineries, why are you not giving support? It's not free, nobody's looking for grant money. Why are you not lending to them to actually have a concentration of manufacturing capacity and refining capacity in that region and transform and produce for the whole of Africa, if not, even not. Instead, we are happy to subsidize consumption with over $1 billion every month going to subsidize consumption. You don't subsidize consumption, you subsidize production. You should take this. Can you imagine the transformation that will happen to that segment of our economy, that geographical area, if $1 billion goes in there to support 75 modular refineries to even use the 445,000 barrels a day allowed to Nigeria to refine, which we are not refining because we have destroyed the capacity of government-owned refineries who didn't really have any business being there. So you can see that there is a disconnect. You should breed prosperity to that region and investment, incipient investment into the capacity, and then use that to develop the economy. They have actually been, most of the development that took place, of course, most of the money were stolen, over $400 billion, but most of the things that happened in the country so far were what came from the area. But I have to also join issues with what Alfred was saying. There is a difference between geographical diversification, which is where you explain why you have to go and explore for oil and gas resources in the in the Chad Basin area. Because the politics is that you get 13.5 derivations, so whoever is able to quickly show that there is oil in their constituency and they're able to, so you can't dismiss that. It's geographical diversification of resources. But we need to say, look, even that one that we have, explain to me. There's no company in the world that knows what they are doing in oil and gas that is not in Nigeria. But why is it that the structure of the structural deformity in the industry is such that, oh, go and mine oil, stay in the upstream, take that bloody oil off your country, go and refine it, we'll pay for the refining, we'll subsidize the oil, the crude we'll sell for them to go and refine, we'll pay for refining, we'll pay for travel, to transport it, and then pay to bring it back. And then what you have are traders in the middle that have oil farm, tank farms, and then they have to. So it is a deformity, I'm telling you.
Just to mention,
all right.
Just
Alfred.
Alfred. 1 minute. I'm just excited about Prof's recent meeting. You know, when this administration came on board, as part of cleaning the Niger Delta, one of the things that pollutes the Niger Delta even more is this illegal refining systems they call, so popularly called bullfire. In the bush, where people have to bullfire, where people have to bust pipelines and try to help themselves. And what we had proposed, that just like they had set up cooperatives for illegal miners in the north, mining under the, why don't they set up
solid minerals?
Yes. So why don't they set up cooperatives? And like Prof rightly suggested, which is exciting me, why don't they set up cooperatives and support the genuine and legal refining of petroleum products, so much that if it is subsidized and supported, the Niger Delta, people who are doing this thing crudely, who should be arrested and prosecuted, I am not supporting them in any way, most of them can divert their negative energies into positive energies and contribute to the economy of this country, create jobs. And you know, like what you said, $1 billion. If $1 billion comes into the Niger Delta region and is based on, and let me tell you something. When we say support the areas in the Niger Delta region, it is not, the economy there is not exclusive of just the people of the Niger Delta. All tribes and all races both national and international, all work there. It will only be robust and contribute to the economy of Nigeria. Just what he mentioned, the economy of Houston, Texas, contributes not just to the economy of Texas, not just to the economy of Nigeria. It has a multiplier effect, and this is the way forward. Instead, they are even strangling Niger Deltas who are in the oil industry out of the oil industry. I don't want to mention too many cases here. So these are the things we are saying. So we need to begin to think locally. We need to begin to support ourselves to grow in dimension. Like what business? How could we be having an economy with so much oil and paying so much to the importation of oil from outside of this? It doesn't make sense. Why can't we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 refineries operating around?
We have the almighty one, Dangote refineries.
Dangote. Here in Lagos, that they will pipe. You see, even elementary economics. You see, one of the problems in this country is that we politicize everything, including governance. Even security is being politicized. And until we stop the politicization of issues, we will not go forward. Okay. Look at the witch hunt of Malabu oil. It's all politics. The details that they will bring out to you in the open may sound negative, but go deep down, you will see the politics in the whole thing. So what we need to do is to stop the politicization of governance. When governance, let me speak in our countryman language. When governance comes, let us face governance. After 4 years, let us now face the little politics, but prioritize governance over politics. Okay. And that is the seeming problem.
All right.
Now, there's an opening,
okay,
which I'm going to hold on to,
right,
which I'm going to hook you. Please do. Yeah, I have to. He just said something, and I was shocked that if $1 billion goes into Niger Delta, I have a farm in Uzoro, in Usoko land, which of course calls off a friend. I went in there, and I'm looking forward to retiring and living in Niger Delta. But you know what? Moving around Niger Delta, you still see gas flaring in places. Which again, you see, when you're in Lagos, and
behind my house there is gas flaring,
talk of ecological crisis, you will not understand. You have to go there and see for yourself. Now the question is, for all the 13% they've been collecting for derivation, I would have expected the states in Niger Delta to have come up with if only one modular refinery per state. The round-robin effect on the economy of the states can never be imagined. Of course, when it's experienced, it's going to boost their economy, the earning power, there will be job creation. 3/4 of those who are criminals today, I will tell you, they are into it because they have nothing meaningful to do with their lives. And like it or not, every day you must eat, if anything.
Yeah.
Every day you must be
So you are suggesting that the state governments should take a step somehow as a way of challenging the federal government.
Move away from politics.
Okay.
Move away from politicization of everything. Go back and sit down and say, look, this year we are not building roads. For instance, we are not building roads. We are using our budget this year to establish refinery.
Let's stay with the oil and gas for a bit and see how much work we've done over the years. Prior to the, advent of this administration, there was a 223-page petroleum industry bill. This regime and its National Assembly talked about breaking it down into about 4 bills. But as we speak now, only the petroleum industry governance bill has been passed. What really can be done, to ensure that, there's a lot of talk about moving away from oil. But for now, we still have some oil, and we should make good use of it. What can be done to improve the oil and gas sector?
Now, let me ask a question. What can be done to make the president sign the one that is on his table? Moku Begam now. Because there's a bill sitting on the president's table currently that will add some form of potency and relevance to all of these conversations we are having about prospering our economy. He has not signed it. So we begin to ask, is there an international interference in this whole thing? Is there an imperialistic wrap on this whole thing? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because like I said here, and I've said like 3 times, we need to begin to invent local solutions to our local problems. And that is the only way countries move forward. Do you understand? Because when other countries come with their ideas, they give you their ideas as it benefits them. Like we are recently discovering China has been giving loans around Africa. And we are just discovering, or we are just realizing in recent times, that the loans are actually taking over national assets of,
Exactly.
of African countries.
Yeah.
And Nigeria is not excluded. So we need, so we begin, let us ask a question from the one way day for Bubu Presido table. Why he never sign her?
Especially when it dwells more on local content,
Okay.
which of course will have helped us a lot better.
All right, let me bring in Professor in here. Recently, months ago, when the president said, or when the government announced that there's going to be a national carrier, a lot of people jubilated, a lot of people were happy that one way or the other we're going to have a national carrier. And all of a sudden, the government also announced that, in fact, there was a road show in Abuja and unveiling of the logo and celebration and all of that, and the drinking of wine and popping of champagne. I wasn't at the celebration though. But after then, Nigerians' hope were dashed when government said that they have suspended that project indefinitely. And some of the reason, or one of the reasons they gave, was that the investors pulled out. The president has talked about the issue of investors coming into Nigeria and are interested and all of that. When it comes to strategy, tact in bringing in investors, the Nigeria Air is a very bad example in the minds of those who analyze it. How concerned are you using that as an example or focal point to other areas that the government is not handling well?
The voice is gone. Anyway, I think there is a sign of good intention to engage investors, whether it's a mixture of domestic and foreign investors, to come in to run the national air is a good sign. I will never support government going into these things, because we're going to get government out of all these thousands of businesses that they have got entangled with, and they're not working. They just, pipelines for sinking our revenue. Now, the second thing, of course, is that airline business is very tough. Go and look at all the national airlines of Africa. And even the South Africa with all the fleet, look at the amount of subsidy that they are sucking away from government. They run into billions of dollars. One of the most successful is the Ethiopian airline. Look at Kenyan airline. No, it is a very serious business. So I wouldn't be in a hurry to sign a deal where I know I'm going to crash as a business person. So we need to relook and review what has gone into those companies. But of course, the government has said that there were other interested parties. They mentioned at least 3, that ADB-led group and all that. So it's not that. Look at the airlines. If you look at British Airways, a quarter of their profit is coming from the Nigerian route of the global business. So there is business to be done with Nigerian traffic. And there's nothing wrong in getting a national carrier that will be run properly, that will generate revenue for the government. So, but the devil is in the detail. And I would like us to not to rush into a failing bid, but take our time and get, after all, we've been without this for many, many years. So you cannot, for example, for political expediency, quickly rush at something that will not work. So I think they need to take a bit more, they take a seat back and come up with a viable, sustainable package that will put a smile on everybody's face and will be a win-win for both the investors and the Nigerian government.
It's interesting, and then, part of the continuity we talked about earlier is that this issue can still be on the table, and it doesn't matter what happened in subsequent years. Any other administration can pick it up and make it fly. But the big question also is whether government should do that kind of a business. There are some who would say that we have seen some level of privatization in the power sector, which hasn't translated into much of power for the ordinary people. Which way to go? Should government do this business or hand it over completely to private investors?
Well, government is the regulator, so it has to still package it, because part of this package is packaging investment environment in looking at all the parameters, macroeconomic parameters that surround those particular business decisions. So you can't wish government away. And international investors want to make sure that they extract political commitment and real deal from government for them to have security of their investment. So, but having government drive these, it will be a tragedy. And if government wants to have a share, it should be more than 10% or 15%, for goodness sake. Let's get the flow of investment into the strategic sectors that will drag the entire economy of the country.
All right, Oladinde, let me come to you on this. The president mentioned the issue of bumper harvest. He said we're having bumper harvest now.
Irrespective of the flood.
Yeah, irrespective of flood. But the point is,
well,
in Benue, for instance, in Taraba State, in Nasarawa State, in Plateau State, the region where
the food baskets
the
of
food
Nigeria
comes from, especially like in Benue State, for instance, there has, in fact, some farmers have not been to the farms this season. From the 1st of January, there has been issues where farmers have left their homes and left their farms and are in IDP camps, permanently at IDP camps. In that respect, the president still said there's bumper harvest.
That tells you that the bumper harvest that is talking about is figurative, not the reality. It's no longer a secret that banditry has been their lot in those areas. They are not being confronted by Boko Haram, no, but they're having to deal with bandits and, of course, the herdsmen.
Bandits is more in Zamfara.
Yes, well, it's everywhere.
Okay.
It's everywhere. And when you measure or you benchmark all of that against the figures that we are giving, in all these speeches, they don't tally. Economics now should be taken away from those figures, but about human beings. National economy we're talking about now, not even individual. But you and I know that there have been reduced farming activities in those places where we normally enjoy massive food production. So from where then are we now saying that we are getting a bumper harvest? If you want to know, go to the market. One of the things I regularly consume is tomato. I have had to buy just one small tiny bit of tomato for 50 naira, and they will tell you 4 is 200 naira. No discount, nothing. Okay, when you measure these against claims such as these sweeping claims, I would say, they don't tally, they don't gel. I don't need to be told that we have bumper harvest. It should reflect in what the average person experiences in the open market. And to that extent, it's not true. The only area that I can say they've done well, again, it's not even a federal issue, it's the issue of rice. For instance, you see Lagos State collaborating with Kebbi State to plant rice. I will now have lake rice. Round the year now, we have lake rice on sale in Lagos. Yes. To that extent, we can say yes. But how does it now concern the federal authority? It's not their business. And I can also tell you that Lagos State government has pacts with virtually all the states in the southwest too, regarding planting. So that's why I told you that if we must move forward, we should review and empower our local government system. These are things that they should be involved in. Why? They have direct interface with the people. It is easier for me to go and harass my council chairman as against going to see my senator in Abuja or even my governor.
It's good that we're talking about food security, Alfred, and on both sides, we're having challenges. There's the issue of natural disaster in form of flood. Some have even said that it's much more of our inability to control things that is making water, overflow its bank. There's also the issue of insecurity that is affecting planting. But I'm concerned about, Mr. President talked about using technology right. There's a lot about hydroponics now, beyond growing, using the soil. There's a new system of growing in the air. Fantastic idea. In fact, go to the VI, you see private young Nigerians making bumper harvest from controlled environment. How much of technology is being involved in agriculture, in this age and time that Nigeria is 58?
That brings back to one of what has been mentioned in this program. How much, even if that, how much of institutional support our young ones having to drive themselves in that manner. So that's the major thing. We don't have deliberate policies that can grow microeconomics, little businesses here and there. You have the interest rate on the eye here. You have all sorts of things. So that's why I said that we need local solutions to our local problems. So basically, this is good, but it's not being encouraged. And like he rightly said here, even in areas where these things are locally or traditionally done, like in Benue and other places, we have had and we have experienced the rampage of these nomads. So the question again is, how has the president been able to stand? What is his stand? What's his body language with respect to this rascality? You see, coincidentally, you can describe it as a coincidence. There have been analyses that whenever the president travels, these headsmen, it may be a coincidence, okay? These headsmen they hold back their activities. Recently, the president just came back and there was killing of blah, blah, blah in the Katsina area and other things. You see, in times like this and from the beginning, where I think the president got this wrong was his body language. Until date, his body language is not suggesting a firm action against this rascality that is rampaging on these traditional farmers. Because let me also tell you, there is also this argument that no matter how technologically you grow these crops, that they don't come as sweet as the traditional ones.
All right.
So we need to encourage both.
And
both are discouraged on all fronts.
We have just about 1 minute to leave right now. Let me throw this to Professor Kenny Fair. From where we stand right now, one of the headlines on the papers this morning says that the Naira is gaining as politicians pump election dollars into the economy. From where we stand right now, what are your projections for the economy as we get towards the election?
Well, there will be a general slowdown. There is, as you have already seen anyway. Inflation is a little uptick. It may just stay roughly. I don't think I will see a rapid drop, because the harvest that I was expecting to bring down the food basket index, which will now drive, the food basket is around 12.8. That's what we need to drive down the inflation to single digit. There are challenges on those agricultural fronts. And, but in terms of the growth, it looks like it might level off. I wasn't going to now expect a rapid growth to bring us to 2.5 average over the year. But having said that, so many things have been said about agriculture. I need to give you some facts on this. There is absolutely no doubt that Buhari has said bumper harvest, but it is a matter of fact. It is a matter of fact that according to the ARPG plan, they plan to get us out of import substitute, the import of rice this year. This year was the target. And then you also have sugarcane, you have wheat and sorghum. They all have their targets for next year. But to be very factual, CBN has responded. There is more inflow of inputs. There is the agro-governance programs. You saw successes, over 5 million extra metric tons of rice coming in, and more are going to come in. But the thing is, they are now hostage to the issues, 4 major issues that are taking place right now. One is, of course, the Boko Haram, the displacement in the Northeast. Those farmers that have been displaced not only are not going to the farm, but they are in IDP camp consuming food. Then you have the ones that are, as a result of the clashes with the farmer ahead, some are not even going to the farm because of the fear. So that is also reducing from the quantity being produced. Then you have the flood. And unfortunately, all the flood plains in the Niger and Benue rivers are affected, all the states. So that is a serious knock on rice production and many other crops. All right. Then I want you to realize one more. One more is that because of the value of our Naira, we 1 Naira used to buy 3 francs CFA, and we're surrounded by 4 Francophone countries. So our food is cheaper to them. So for that reason, they are heavily importing our agricultural produce.
It's all right.
And you can't
It's all right.
stop that.
It's all right, Professor.
Yeah, you can't stop that. But then
Yeah.
they all are impacting.
We might just have to
that's a great
wrap it
opportunity.
there. Nigeria's 58, so we can't discuss all of these issues in just 2 hours. Professor Kenny Faye is a macroeconomic policy analyst who joined us on the show this morning. Alfred Kimapado, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
it's fine.
He's Secretary General, Ijo Youth Council. Olade Inde, your security consultant. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Ironically, life expectancy in Nigeria is just 53, and we are 58 years old. So the hope is high that
Nigeria is a country. Nigeria is a country.
I understand. I'm just being a little bit mischievous there. But
That's all right.
the truth is that the good news is Nigeria is together.
Yeah, of course.
As one.
And we remain
And there is
together.
hope in that.
All right, that's part of what we have to celebrate. Let's go on a break and then we come back to do the last leg of things on the program this morning.